these other types of forms that were hybrids. And it is very interesting because when you go and dig deeper in the Bible, when Noah was born, the father understood what was taking place. Noah's father understood what was taking place. And this is why he questions his wife, because the son came out looking rather different. We know by digging deeper into the scripture that Noah was really albino. And so because that he was albino, the father got nervous and got scared and thought that maybe his wife had slept with one of the fallen angels, because it was unlikely and unheard of for a child to come out with no color, because everything in nature that is produced always produces a color. There's no such thing as white rice. There's no such thing as white cauliflower. Everything that nature produces, it always produces it in a color. Oh, y'all don't want to hear me. 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 I told y'all it's going to get a little deep. I told y'all it's going to get a little. Do you see why we have to build the school of the prophets? I said, do you see why we have to build the school of the prophets? Do you see why we have to build the school of the prophets? The hybridization first started out in the vegetable kingdom in modern times. And some of this thing that, and the ways that it started out was through them blending two different species of plants together. And so we see this with apples, for example, bananas, for example, corn. Most of the time, we don't even understand this, but the body cannot even digest corn because it is man-made. Carrots, cauliflower, even strawberries, oranges, all of these things are hybrids. They are hybrids. They are hybrids. And it's interesting that he says that it will be similar to the days of Noah. But then they took it a step further, and I'm going to give you the agenda that's about to take place and what this means when the Bible begins to talk about this famine that will take place in the land. There's a reason why Jesus begins to say that man will not live by bread alone, because the reason why the enemy is trying to get Jesus to turn stone into bread is going to be the same thing that's going to take place in the end time, because the enemy is after what you consume, and he's trying to do it through social media, he's trying to do it through Hollywood, he's trying to do it through visuals, and he's also going to try to do it through the food source. But I'm telling you right now that I'm on it, I'm on it, I'm on it, I'm on it, I'm on it. Then there were a group of people that started to say, let us take it a step further. We no longer want to mix plants that normally don't mix together. They did that already. They said, now we're going to do something where we mess with the fruit or what the plants produce. And they use this and call this GMOs. GMOs. And they noticed that the more that they messed with these GMOs, there was these weird types of diseases and pestilences which deals with different things that started to strike the body. People getting weird diseases, cancer, other weird forms of different things, because they are manipulating the food source. But then recently they said that they're going to take it even a step further. Nobody's talking about this. I said nobody is talking about this. I am doing a special teaching on this, and this is why I'm telling you, if you are not subscribed to my channel, if you are not subscribed to my content, I'm about to launch something where it's going to be subscriptions based only. It's not going to be for the public, because the stuff that I'm going to get into and the stuff that the Bible is saying and the stuff that you're hearing people doing right now is only a picture of what the Bible speaks about. So then they took it to GMOs. GMOs. And this went on for a while. When we look at what GMO means, this deals with genetically modified organisms. To genetically modify it. This is the same thing that the devil did. He tried to genetically modify by causing fallen angels to have sex with the daughters, to begin to create these genetically modified species. I'm going to get to when it's going to come to us, but I'm just letting you understand what is taking place. But then there's been something interesting that's been taking place recently. The farms are now getting bought up from certain major companies. Bill Gates is one of the people that are ahead of it, and there's a couple other secret groups of people that are buying this. And there's no one talking about this in Christendom. You're not hearing all of these prophets that are calling out people's names and giving people their phone book and giving them all of this. No one foresees this. No one is talking about it. But can I talk about it tonight? Can I talk about it tonight? So there's this new thing that is taking place. And I've waited and I watched. I said, who is talking about it? Who is talking about it? Who is talking about it? And it started out because I was on a show. I think Larry was interviewing me, and I said a prophecy, and I went over some people's head. People didn't understand what I was saying. I said there's going to be a weird thing that's going to start happening with food. There's going to be a weird thing that's going to start happening with food. And it wasn't that I saw that there was a scarcity in the way how people think that there's a scarcity where there's not enough food, but there is a scarcity because of the way how things were modified in the food. There is, and the Bible speaks about this in the Revelations, about this one world order, that there is going to be a kingdom, and this is all part of the things that's going to take place in the last days. But before we get into that, the Bible also speaks about a movement of the Spirit. And so there's a weird thing that's taking place, and there's a particular company, and some of this stuff I'm going to have to be watchful the way I said. There's a particular company that is ran by Bill Gates and a couple other people, and they are buying up all of this farmland. And people are saying, why? What is this thing now? What are they doing? What are they doing? And they first did the GMOs to genetically modify food, and they begin to see how it had effects. They did tests where they genetically modified food and it affected rats. They gave rats certain food that they genetically modified, it created cancer. They gave rats certain food that they genetically modified, it made them age quicker. They gave them certain food and it made them get fat. They gave another rat a certain type of thing that they genetically modified, and it began to change certain things in their genome. They gave this, and I'm saying, what is this that's going on? Because this is the same thing that the enemy was trying to do during the days of Noah, the hybridization. But then there is something else that no one is talking about, which is known as RNA. R as in Robert, N as in Nancy, A as in Anthony. RNA. Ribonucleic acid, nucleic acid present in all living cells. Now this is very different than these are messengers or messages that they can carry instructions from the DNA for controlling the synthesis of protein. This is the next stage that they're getting into now. And what this really means is that they will be able to change certain things in food that will be able to choose certain groups that they want to target, certain age groups that they want to target, certain demographics, certain, oh God, y'all don't want to hear me talk about this, certain racial groups that they can target. Now, nobody's talking about this, and I prophesied this. I said this was going to come. I said there's people looking at me kind of strange, people looking at me kind of crazy, and some people don't understand it right now. You can do your own research. There's not a lot of people talking about it. You're not going to find a lot about this on CNN. Those that watch it, you're not going to find a lot about this on Fox. But what I'm saying the truth. And I believe that this modification of food is going to cause this weird type of famine. This is not a famine in the sense that there is no food. It is a famine where there is resistance on the body being able to take the nutrition from the food. Oh, now, y'all know what I'm trying to build. This is why the School of Prophets has to be built. And I haven't even given you the second plan. Frank knows it. Other people know it. But I haven't even given you the second plan, that after we build this, how I'm even starting to look at farmland to buy. Yeah, you heard me, farmland. Everybody's talking about the high-density city areas, and all of this different types of things. And there was a reason why we started to see more after the pandemic, more of people coming into these city areas or these high density areas. But there's something that needs to be done with the farm. And this is why in the School of the Prophets, I'm even going to be teaching something on what is known as plant alchemy. Plant alchemy. Plant alchemy. Plant alchemy. Now, I know that the enemy is trying to fight this. The enemy is trying to fight this because of where I'm at and what I'm doing. You're not going to hear people in the church talk about this. Most of your preachers are unhealthy. They're not even into health. They're not even into this type of stuff. They're not into. But let me explain something to you. The Holy Spirit has showed me, and I showed it to Frank. I said, we have to get the center built. And I said, after we get the center built, I need to start buying farmland where we are growing our own stuff. Because let me explain something. There is some weird stuff that people are going to see in the food. And the Bible makes several references of what is about to take place. Each of them represent a different cycle. And in each of ages past, there were 7 cycles that existed there. Then in ages present, there are 7 cycles or 7 dispensations that are there. And then in ages to come, which deals with the New Jerusalem, there will also be cycles that will exist in that time period. Now, when we talk about this, this will be a sign of the end of the age, not the world. I want us to be clear here. Because the world is a matrix. It goes through a matrix. The world occupies through a matrix. And the matrix that the world occupies through is what is known as the hologram of God. In my School of the Prophets, I get into this and I go even break down how reality represents the hologram of the spear of God. And I get very deep into that, but I don't have time to talk about this in public platform. Scientists are now talking about it, but this is something that we always knew in the School of the Prophets. Now, Jesus. Oh, God. Can you take a little more? Go to Acts chapter 2, verse 14. Go to Acts chapter 2, verse 14, because I want to get into now talking about the third Pentecost. The third Pentecost. Everyone knows about the Pentecost that takes place, but there's going to be another Pentecost. I call it the third Pentecost. There was a Pentecost that took place in the Old Testament. There's a Pentecost that takes place in the New Testament. And there's going to be a Pentecost that's going to take place in the last days. Now, what we see in Acts chapter 2, verse 14, Peter begins to quote Prophet Joel. And he quotes him, but when Peter begins to quote Joel, he begins to add in the last days, which is rather interesting in referring to this Pentecost that is going to come. What does it say there in Acts chapter 2, verse 14?
But Peter, standing up with the 11, lifted up his voice and said unto them, Ye men of Judah, and all ye that dwell at Jerusalem, be this known unto you, and hearken to my words. For these are not drunken, as ye supposed, seeing it but the 3rd hour of the day. But this is that which was spoken by the prophet Joel. And it shall come to pass in the last days, saith God, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams.